Here is 1.3, those problems that people didn't know how to do and I didn't know how to do until today, okay, or until yesterday or the day before. When you're dealing with random samples, most of the time, what is your example of a random sample? Names and a what? Okay. What if you have 1,000 people? What if you have 259 employees? Gets a little bit complicated. The best way to do it is to assign a name with a number and take your TI-84 and do a random generation. Okay? That's the best way to do it. That's what I'll test you on. I'll test you on that. I'm not going to test you on this because this is a pain, all right? But I want you to know about it so you can do your homework. All right. Let's say that I want to pick 5 people, and let's see what the question says. The question, let me see if there's a question before this one. Let's see, go to the previous page. All right, here's the question. The accounting firm of blah, 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 blah. The company decides to send a survey out to a random sample of 5 of its 30 clients. Okay, so how many clients do they have? 30. So what they do is they make a list and they put a name beside each. Now this is not in the table. This is what the table consists of. Okay, everybody with me? So 1 through 30, 2 digits, 1 through 30. Then they look up a table. Now my question is, where does this table come from? But you can generate a table through Excel, but I am not going to show you how to do that because you don't need to do that on the test. Okay, so, and you pick a point. Now, where do they pick a point? The first digit, let's see. Somewhere they got to tell you where you pick a point.
It was at the bottom, it said row 1, step 2.
Okay, where?
Each digit is in its own column, the digits there.
Okay, the first digit, okay. Each digit is on, okay, the digit displayed groups for a reason. The digits are now.
Might have to go to the next.
Okay, might have to go to the next one, but the question will tell you where to start. It has to give you a starting point. And if it doesn't, then I'm just going to make one up. Okay, here it is. Suppose we start 413. Now, you can take a dart and you can throw it at the board and pick a point. You can do it that way. I don't care. But they picked 4 and 13. So you go to row 4 and 13. So here's row 4. Or is it row, let's see. Row 13, column 4. They do it backwards. Row 13, column 4. So here's row 13, column 4. And there's your 1. There's your starting point right there, 1. So you highlight that 1. And then you pick 5 numbers between 1 and 30 right below that. That's it. If you don't get it in that, if you got to have 9 numbers, then you go to the next column. Everybody with me? So let's look. 52. Can I use 52 in 1 through 30? No. There's only 30 people. So you skip that one. Can I pick number 7? Yes. So 7 is your first number. That's your first person that you're going to send the whatever to. Okay, next one. 44. Can I use 44? No. 46? No. 37? No. 26? Yes, so there's my second number, 26. 41, I'm sorry, 11, yes, there's my third number. Up here, go to the next column, and this is just process. You don't have to go to the next column, but this book, this is a new book, and this is a new question that I've seen. They go to the next column. 9, there's your fourth.
Do you go to the top of the next one?
I do.
Well,
You're supposed to go to the next, like, so.
Oh, right here?
It would be 59.
Okay, right here?
No,
No, I'm sorry. Right here.
All the way to the top.
Well, that's what I just said.
Yeah, but it would be 59.
Yeah, 59, I'm sorry. 59, that doesn't work. So 93.
That's
No.
45.
No, it would
What?
It would be 59 because you go to column 4, which would be on the first.
What I'm saying, I don't know if I'm not really.
Just scroll up. Just all the way to the top.
Like, does that matter?
I don't, oh, wait a minute, there's what you're talking about, I'm sorry. I didn't go all the way up. Thank you. 23, that's your fourth number. 17, that's your fifth number. That's how you do it, okay? I'm not gonna test you on it, but that's how you do it on your homework.
You
Yes.
don't count on one that you started with?
No, you don't, you go below it. That's your starting point. That's where your dart hit. Now, either you're gonna throw a dart or you're gonna pick your own point, which they're not gonna let you do, or you're going to be given a point in your homework or your test question. I'm not gonna test you on the table. Everybody got that? At home, did y'all hear that? Okay, I'm not gonna test you on the table. I'm gonna test you on the computer generator, which I'm fixing to pull up. All right, so let's go to the computer generator. Computer generator that I'm going to test you on. And do I have let me see if I have a calculator on here. Hold on just a second. Probably not. Oh my gosh, they have given me one. Oops, I don't want the TI-83. That one's too old. I mean,
Are
you
about
can
to show
still
us how to
use
do
it.
the stack crunch one? Is
Yeah.
that what you're about to do?
I have to do this every time I use a calculator because IT won't fix it.
Will you open our homework back up? It won't let me look at one.
I'll address that after I finish doing this. I'll address that for the whole class. I've been asked that question like 5 times this morning.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Y'all keep thinking I'm one of those teachers that try to make you fail, and I'm not. So I don't pull any punches. All right, here we go. So you go to math, go to probability, enter. Now that's not right. Let me go do that again. Math. Is that the math button right there? Math. Probability. Oh, there we go. And go down to the last one. Let's see, the last one should be number 8. No repetition, because they don't want repetition. And now, if you have a TI-84 Plus or a TI-84 with a bunch of stuff behind it, the new ones, it asks you, what's your lower rate? That'll be 1, comma, and then your upper rate is 30, comma, and then how many people do they want? They wanted 5, right? This is the first time I've done this on this with this right here, so I hope it pans out. Enter. And it didn't do it, so I must be typing in the order wrong. But if you got a TI-85 or a TI-84, let me put the 5 in the middle. I don't know if that'll work or not. 5, comma, 30. Did y'all's work?
Mine did, but mine's the newer one. So.
Yours what?
Mine's like a newer version.
Yeah, the newer version it worked, but I don't know. I haven't tried it on this one. 1, 5, and 30. Nope.
There's like a paste button below ours, so I don't know.
Did anybody get the answer to come out on the TI-84?
No.
Okay, then I'm gonna have to look it up because it's not working. I know on the new ones, you type in 1, 30, and 5. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, I'll go back to the drawing board. See, on my home computer, I have the TI-84 Plus, and I can show you how to do it on that. But like I say, everything I got's at home, so I have to come here to teach y'all.
Try to take the 1 out.
Take the 1 out?
Yeah.
Did that work with you?
I don't know. I don't have.
I don't think that'll work because it's gotta have a minimum number.
What if you take the 5 out and then it just gives you a list? And then you choose the first 5.
Wow, that worked. Thank you.
That's not the same thing I have, though.
It won't be. Because each calculator will pull up a different set of numbers. Think about it. Why do they have the table? They have the table, and they have the table and the point, so everybody will get the same what? Answer. If you take away the point in the table, or you do it on a calculator, are you going to get the same answer? No. So that's why another reason I don't like to test you on this, because there's too much ambiguity. You know what I'm going to say, ambiguity. Yeah, thank you, ambiguity. All right. So does that help? So you type in the number, and then you type in the number that you want. With the TI 84 Plus, you type in the minimum number, which would be 1, the maximum number, which would be 30, and then how many people you want, or how many random selections you want would be 5. Everybody good? That's how you do those 2 questions. Now, sometime today, I will open up 1.3 again. I'll give y'all like 24 hours to finish those 2 or 3 questions, okay? Any questions on that? All right. Not my favorite question, and you'll be really surprised if I even put one of those on the test. Because I know for a fact, if I copy the test over from last semester, you're not going to have one of those, because those are new in this book. So I know you're not going to have one if I copy it. But for those people I don't like Mr. Smith, I'll probably put 5 of those on there.
Good.
You're welcome. All right, next.
Just for me, then, right?
Yeah, just for you.
Thanks.
Just so you could fail. All right, so let's go back to our handy dandy 1.4 or 1.5 or wherever the heck we are. You said we were going into bias, right? Somebody give me the page number for that, please. Well, I can't type in the page number. I used to be able to type in the page
Is
number.
that 4 lines right there?
What?
Is that 4 lines right there, that table of contents? You should be able to get to it.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
Well, I know, but usually you could type in the page number. I'll just go down here and pick up number. Where's chapter 1?
Chapter 1, data collection, drop down.
There, thank you. They've changed everything in this book.
Wait, are we not starting with 1.6?
Well, I'm going over, I don't think we finished 1.5. Remember, I didn't finish going over some of the things I wanted to go over. Is that okay? I mean, I wanted to cover some more graphics, and they didn't have any, so I wanted to talk about that. How far did we get in bias?
We talked about bias and then mistaken intent.
Okay. Bias also happens when you have LAD. And that's lazy attitude disorder. Let me give you an example. Let's say you work for Michelin and you are the quality assurance director for Southeast Michelin, which entails all of the Southeast Michelins. And you've got a report coming up, and it's to the main body, CEO or whatever, and you've got to give a report on next year's, everybody listening, on next year's bad tires. How much is Michelin going to lose next year with bad tires? Bad tires being made. And it interferes with your golf and your tennis, so you just go over here to Masters Boulevard and you pull a few tires, and then you go over to Greenville and you pull a few tires, and then you go over to Sandy Springs and you pull 10 or 15 tires, and you put a report together, and you say that next year Michelin is going to have $2 million worth of bad tires that they're going to have to compensate for. In other words, they're either going to put it in the budget as $2 million, or they're going to have to take those tires, melt them down, and do what? Redo them. And 2022 rolls around, and the cost for defective tires was $15 million. You are what? What's your outcome as a quality assurance director?
Not good.
You're fired. You're fired. That's called fired. That's when you don't do your job and you get fired. Okay? You don't get a trophy for giving Michelin a $12 million debt. Okay? Or whatever, $13 million. So what was the problem there? You can't scrimp on your research. And if you do, it can show either it'll get you fired or it could show a bias. Okay, so I know some of y'all don't like to hear this, but you get out of it what you what? Put into it. So make sure you don't undercover. What if I asked you a question on a survey that said this? Why don't you like the current blah, 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 blah in office? What's wrong with that question? Why is it biased? I mean, I didn't say anything bad. I just said, why don't you like?
It's the question. Why don't you like? It's already
Exactly.
a negative question.
It's already a negative question. Can questions be biased?
Yes.
Can surveys be biased?
Yes.
Yes. Now, I'm not making this up, okay? This is in this book, okay? I just want to tell you that because I got a complaint that I was talking too much about bias, and I've never talked too much about it. I go through here and I fill out the stuff just like I always do. But somebody said I was talking too much about bias. And it is the thing that will bring down your research project, okay? And if you don't think an instructor can pull out bias out of your research project, you're living in fantasy land, okay? They can pick it out. All right, so it can happen on the survey, it can happen on the questions. What about when you tally the results? You throw out some things that you don't like? Yeah. What am I trying to tell you? One of the things I'm trying to get a point across to you is that there's two things. There's uniformity and then there's bias. Those are the two things in statistics that can either make your project an A+ or make your project an F. That's why it's so important. It's not important because I want it to be important. It's important because there's heaven and then there's what? Hell. There's two directions you can go in statistics. The truth, non-biased, a lot of research, and then junk. And that's what the two are. I'm sorry. I don't know why people don't like that. Maybe it has to do with the trophy thing. I don't know. Non-response. There are people. This is no joke. I know some people that if you don't respond to a survey, they'll either count it as this or they'll count it as this. You can't do that. A non-response is a what? Non-response. You have to put it in its own category. You can't say that they're for this or against this because they didn't respond. That's like saying, well, Joe, he didn't tell me that he didn't like this or his favorite color is this, but I believe it's this. You can't do that. Interview error, that's kind of like the question I just talked about. Misrepresented answers, here you go. Do you oppose the reduction of estate taxes? Do you favor or oppose? See, that's how you write questions. Now, will you go into this before you do your master's and your doctorate? Yes, you will take a whole class in this. And you will be given 100 questions. I had a teacher that gave us 100 questions. 1 point apiece. This was a test grade. And you had to go through, this was like over the semester. And you had to go through those 100 questions and you had to pick out what was wrong with the questions. Some of it was just a placement of a comma. Some, a word like is, it all depends on what your definition of is. Who said that? Bill Clinton. Was he right? Yes. There was a couple of questions on there that it should have been another word instead of is. Okay? So can you get persnickety with questions? Yes, you can. Just telling you. I hope you don't have that same instructor. Is that same instructor probably still at Clemson? Yeah, they stay there till they're 110. Okay, so you might have them. When I was in statics and dynamics, NOAC, he was there. I think he was up there 67 years. Yeah. And that was when I graduated, so I don't know if he's still there or not. Type of question. What types of questions do you want on surveys? Open or closed? Closed. Why do you want closed? They're easier to what? They're easier to tally. Okay? Somebody give me the average of your opinion. It's hard to do, isn't it? Can't do the average of an opinion. Now, that leads to, an open question leads to this. Well, does this person mean positive or does this person mean negative? And whose court is the ball in now? Yours. If you're deciding if an essay question or an open question is positive or negative, is that the way it's meant to be? No. You always want to keep your questions, you always want to keep them to where there is no what? Starts with A, ambiguity. There's no ambiguity whatsoever. It's a hard word to say real quick. Look at there, a closed question. A, B, C, D. You can put percentages by that. Always try to keep your questions. If you do have an open question, this is the way you should do it. This is what I was always taught to do it. Have the question be closed and then have a what? Explanation. That's the way you can have an open question and a closed question. You don't necessarily have to use the explanation. You can if you want to, but you still have the question as closed. Capiche? Data entry, we talked about that. That could be with transposing a number or having a graphic not look the way you want it to look. Question, gripe, complaint. These are important. That's it. They didn't give you any graphics, so what I'll have to do is try to pull some graphics from the old book because it's a little bit better. They don't even show any graphics. There's a couple of graphics that I want you to be aware of. One is a soccer ball. They have two soccer balls. One is real big, the other one is real small. And the question reads, soccer in the United States has gone up 15% or something like that. The soccer ball on the left is 20 times bigger than the soccer ball on the right. Is that bias or not? It's bias. Because it's not a true representation of 15%. Everybody with me? The graphic has to show the percentage. If it doesn't, then it's either a mistake or somebody's trying to what? Persuade you. Those are the two. Mistake or somebody's trying to persuade you. Can anybody give me an example of bias? Anybody? I don't know. Did y'all answer it?
Yeah, like a news stuff.
What?
The news.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if you said the news. What else?
We said the news.
The news is not biased. What are you talking about, man?
Okay.
You don't drink Kool-Aid, man. You gotta drink Kool-Aid. All right. Shut up, you. What else? Give me another thing that's biased. Car dealer. Yeah, we talked about that. Now, don't forget, if you're a Clemson fan, the referees, if you lose.
That's not true.
It is true. Now, there's two different types of, we didn't go over this, there's two different types of Clemson fans. There's crazy fan, and then there's the non-crazy fan. The crazy fan blames that desk. if Clemson loses. I'm not a crazy fan. That's why I don't like Clemson football, because of the crazy fans.
But if you're a Georgia fan, you're already blaming who's hurt.
No, they already gonna choke. They got the loaded team this year. They have.
With who?
They've got the loaded team, but they will still, listen to me, they will still choke.
Tell them what it's about, man.
They will still choke. Did you hear what I just said? I said they're still gonna choke.
Get them.
Oh,
Okay.
I know they're going to choke, but
They always do.
one, who's JT Daniels, and two, y'all are already saying that 8 of your starters are already.
I ain't saying anything. I just said they're supposed to be loaded. But that's all right. You wait and see. If Georgia starts leading if Georgia starts leading, watch your Facebook or your social media. It's the referee's fault. The referees are blind. You wait and see. All right. The referees are biased if you're a Clemson fan.
I might send that, I might post this, you'll see it.
Go ahead. Don't worry. I've got some crazy ones. I got some they will actually probably sacrifice their firstborn. You know, they are sick. I mean, sick. Anyway, we don't go over 1.6, so let's go over 2 now. Somebody look at your outline for the one person that printed it out and brought it to class. Tell me what section we're going over, 2.1 to 2.3?
Absolutely, sir.
Gosh, somebody actually printed it out.
No.
Oh, y'all just said that, okay.
That's the homework.
Yeah, it's a homework assignment.
Oh, okay, so, thank you.
I
I just appreciate y'all working on homework while I'm talking, so that just really, you know, that fits it right here. Excuse me, when you're typing while I'm talking, you know, nobody types their notes, okay? Everybody writes their notes, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you're typing your notes. I'll give you the benefit. Okay, how do you organize your data? You use a frequency distribution. A frequency distribution is what we call a table. Okay, that's all it is. But in math, we have to call it something different. You have to hold your pinky up and call it a frequency distribution. There is a frequency distribution right here. You got a category here, and you've got a head count here. Now, there's 2 types of frequency distribution. There's a qualitative, and then there's what? Quantitative. Qualitative has categories on the left. What does, well, let me ask you, got any boxing fans, martial arts, wrestling fans? Wrestling, I didn't say wrestling, I said wrestling, okay? What are wrestling, martial arts, all that good stuff, boxing, what are they divided up into? Weight? What? Classes. So on a quantitative frequency distribution, you don't have categories on the left, you have what? Classes. That's the only difference between the 2. Qualitative, this is a test question, and it's also a standardized test question. They'll put 2 frequency distributions side by side, and they'll say which one is qualitative or which one is quantitative. And you look on the left-hand side, and you either look for a category or a class. How do you know if it's a class? It's got a dash. You know, 26 to 28, 29 to 32. It's got a dash.
That would be quantitative?
Huh?
That would be quantitative?
Quantitative classes, yes. Qualitative would be bronze, brunettes, redheads. Words. Are these words? Yes. Give me the average of shoulder. You can't. So it's a what? It's qualitative. This is a qualitative frequency distribution. It's a qualitative table. Now, a qualitative table, I'm not going to ask you to do anything. But with a quantitative, I'm going to ask you to find the class boundaries, class widths, all that good stuff, and the midpoint. So let's go ahead and get to that. That's a little bit of math. It's not really a lot, but it's a little bit. Relative frequency. Relative frequency. Can anybody tell me what a layman's term for relative frequency is? You learned it back in the 3rd grade. Percent. So just mark out relative frequency and put percent. Let's say we got 3 redheads in the class. There's 30 people in the class. What's the relative frequency of redheads? 3 over 30, which is what? 0.1. 10%. 3 over 30. There's not 3 redheads in here, okay? I'm just using that as an example. There might be. You women in y'all's colors, I can't keep up
When we
with
do the
it.
relative frequency, we wouldn't 100%, we would do the 0.1.
You could do either decimal.
That is percent.
It depends on what the directions say. If the directions say decimal point, you just do 0.1. If it says write as a percentage, you put 10%. Question. Okay, next. There's qualitative, and that's all you can do with qualitative. There's an example right there. Is it a test question? Yes, because that's the only thing I can ask you to do with qualitative data. The only thing I can ask you to do with qualitative data is give me the relative frequency or the percent. And you know how to find the percent from the 3rd grade. You put the number of blondes, brunettes, and redheads over the total. And you either write it as a decimal or a percent, depending on what the directions say. Please don't miss this question on a test. Somebody will. They show you how to do it in the first couple in the relative frequency. Remember I told you there was a little bit of math? There it is. So y'all should be able to do that. Please don't use a calculator to do 2 over 30 down there with the hip. You've already done it. I actually have people, I've seen people actually do 2 over 30. After they've done it with the wrist, they'll do it with the hip. They'll type it in their calculator. I don't know why, but they do. Huh?
Double check.
They just want to double check. Okay. I like your shirt, Def Leppard. That's a good group. 80s, I'm sorry. There's only 2 decades, the 60s and the 80s. The 80s was the best in movies and music. I don't care what kind of music, it was the best. Mine's Guns N' Roses,
What's your
Eagles.
favorite Def Leppard song?
I'm gonna leave that one alone. I like a couple of them. I'm just gonna leave that one alone. All right, because somebody will have something smart to say, whatever I say, so.
Whatever.
Yeah. The other thing you can do with a qualitative is you can make a bar chart. Now, here's where we get into some more. I don't know what you call it. What is it when you talk, when words mean semantics? Okay, I don't know if that's the proper word. A histogram versus a bar chart. Can anybody tell me what the difference between a histogram and a bar chart is?
The lines connect on the.
Exactly. That's the only difference. There's no mathematical difference. Why in the world do we have, I think, you know what I think? I think a long, long time ago, there was this guy or woman, I don't know, that couldn't hack it as a mathematician.
Probably that.
So, probably. And he couldn't hack it as a mathematician, so he started to make his own math. And he called it statistics. And some of the stuff wasn't sophisticated enough, so he started renaming stuff. Because there are so many things that are renamed in statistics that you learn in algebra and you call it a different name. Histogram. I want to know who came up with the word histogram, because it doesn't make any sense. The only difference between a histogram and a bar chart is the histogram, the boxes touch. So make sure you write that down because that is a standardized test question. Surprise there. Okay, the difference between a histogram and a bar chart, and you're going to see this in just a minute when you see the examples. The boxes on a histogram touch each other. So I don't know what the mathematical meaning there is. Just like y'all remember y is equal to mx plus b? Well, not here. It's y equals ax plus b. You'll see the repetitiveness. You'll see it as we go through. Okay, let's move on. Let's see if they, okay, here is 2 bar graphs. There's 2 bar graphs right there. What will I ask you on a test? I will ask you to read a bar graph. What does that mean? You got to look at the end. 12 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. And the question will ask, what is the total number in the class? Or what is the total number that is surveyed? You'd add up all those. 12 plus 2 plus 1, blah, 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 blah. And you'd give me a total. That's the type question that would be on my test and the standardized test. I'll ask you to read the bar chart. And again, I'm telling you the only things I can ask you on a qualitative. I can ask you the head count. I can ask you the relative frequency or the percentage. And I can ask you to make a bar chart and read a bar chart. Those are the 3 or 4 things I can ask you to do. Oh, well, is that one of those hissing cockroaches? I just thought I'd gross everybody out. I think we need to call the exterminator. I think we just need to have class from home. What do y'all think? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if y'all see that, but if y'all can see that on the back, we got a hissing cockroach on the back wall back there.
Yeah, that's just assigned to in class.
Yeah.
That's just what?
Assigned to in class.
Yeah, we need the in class anyway. Let me get to the end of chapter 2.1. And I don't know if we're going to get to, these are just different bar graphs right there. Make sure you read this because I'm not going to test you on this, but you need to know the difference between a side-by-side and a vertical and a horizontal. Make sure you know a pie chart. That's on your standardized test.
Are you going to test us on a pie chart?
I'll test you on a pie chart, yes. There you go, right there. And this is on page 69, so make sure.
Tell which one's bigger or not.
We gotta know your main parts. We gotta know how to make one.
No, I don't do that. I just ask you, if I pay you $1,200 a month, how much do you spend on groceries if you spend 20% on groceries? How much? That's the kind of question I'm gonna ask you.
So basically,
You just multiply the percentage, the 20%, the 0.2, you multiply that by 1,200. Really?
So,
Okay, I'm going to talk to y'all about 2 things before y'all leave today, and it's really bothering me. Okay? If you can't go through a class and not use your phone, and I'm talking to 3 of y'all, y'all need medication or something. If you can't go through this classroom and not talk to each other every 2 or 3 minutes, then you need medication or something. Now, I'm going to warn you the first time. That's a warning. Second time, I'm going to call you out. Third time, I'm going to ask you to leave. Do you understand me? Thank you. I hate to do that. But it seems that some people think that they can get by with doing stuff in here and I'm just going to gaff it off. I'm not. There's the being rude and then there's being disrespectful. Thank you. All right. All right, make sure you can do that. And pie chart, you will be tested on a pie chart and a bar chart. Go ahead and write that in your notes. And that will finish. So 2.2 is probably on quantitative. So we will wait and do that tomorrow, which will be Wednesday. Okay. So you are now responsible for finishing 1.3 and doing what? Starting on 2.1 homework. So you should have a lot of it knocked out by Wednesday, and you should have some questions sent to me by Wednesday. All right. I'm going to call the roll. I'm going to shut down everything, the recording, and let me shut down the recording here.